Welcome to the How to Be a Warrior and Kick Ass in Life podcast, hosted by speaker, author, trainer, and martial arts Hall of Fame inductee, the modern-day ninja, Scott Bolan. The ancient warriors knew that all of life is war. Martial arts means taking control and empowering yourself. Martial mastery means life mastery. Scott Bolan and his special guests will show you how, so you can kick ass in life and get what you want.
Hello, my friends. Rock and rollin' Scott Bolan here with the How to Be a Warrior and Kick Ass in Life podcast. I've got so much empowering information that I want to share with you. If this is your first time to the podcast, I'm not going to blab a lot about myself. You can check the bio on my website at scottbolan.com. I do want to tell you this. I've been a martial artist for all of my life. Since the age of 8, I stepped into a serious old school dojo where there was no gold stickers if you did your homework. It wasn't really a commercial enterprise. It was an old dude who barely spoke English and had cauliflower knuckles. And I begged to be allowed in that class because there was no kids, and I was very, very tall as a kid. And finally, after a lot of pestering, he reluctantly agreed to let me in the class. It was all adults. And the location of this was actually in a carpet warehouse, a very small carpet warehouse in a very bad neighborhood in Southern California. So that's where I started, and that changed my life. And I was interested in martial arts early on. I mean, it always fascinated me, starting with Bruce Lee movies. I mean, who isn't inspired by Bruce Lee? I mean, come on. So that's where it started, and comic books and things like that. Yeah, I was a real kid, but I was drawn to the power and the mystical aspects of the martial arts. I wanted to know more. So all of my life, I've been a martial artist. And I also was just as equally interested in the mental side of it, because I knew, and of course, once you hear Bruce Lee talk, you understand that it ain't just physical, it's mental. And I believe that martial arts empowers the body, mind, and spirit, and you can use martial arts principles and strengths in daily life. Because how many of us are going to be attacked physically? Most of us, we can go our entire lives without being physically attacked. I mean, it's always possible, and you should be prepared. But every day we are mentally attacked. Just turn on the television, or nowadays the internet, and the attacks come from everywhere. A mental, verbal attack constantly. Just look at politics. This is election season, so have fun with that. Okay, so here in today's podcast, I'm interviewing a friend of mine. Her name is Lisa King, and she is a world-class champ. You'll hear all about her. A genuine warrior. That's Lisa King. And so enjoy this interview. Have a pen and paper ready to take notes from this podcast, because you're going to learn a lot and how you can overcome anything and achieve your dreams. In other words, kick ass in life and get what you want. So you're going to hear this incredible overcoming story and what led to her being a world champ.
Bolan here with Lisa King. Lisa King is awesome. That about says it all. She's the Black Widow, known as the Black Widow, a world-class champion, full-contact Muay Thai fighter, Black Belt Magazine's Woman of the Year, Black Belt Hall of Fame, Masters Hall of Fame, Martial Arts History Museum, USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame, reality shows, also a VIP protection specialist. You're just an all-around Renaissance martial artist. So it's so awesome to have you with me today, Lisa, and thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. My bio sounds so much cooler than really what it is. I just do what I love, and that is sufficient for me. All those extra things are just kind of the added extras that come with it. Sure.
Well, it's awesome. You know, you came to our seminar a couple months ago and taught our people some great self-defense skills. I mean, how to throw people, bigger and stronger people. It was so much fun and awesome. Your enthusiasm is contagious. You're like a bottle of Red Bull. Martial arts.
Funny, I think I just finished one. So they don't know that they're going to sponsor me, but one day they will.
Absolutely. And what's really cool, you know, in addition to all that you've done in the martial arts and teaching martial arts, we got to talking after the seminar, and you were telling me your story of how you had overcome lupus. And I just want to touch on that, because to me, martial arts applies to all of life. Obviously, it isn't just self-defense. It's so much more. It's self-mastery. Like my 8-year-old son said, I asked him one day, I said, what does martial arts mean? And he said, martial arts means taking control and empowering yourself. And I said, well, I'm going to use that. That's a trademark quote. That describes
from
it
an
perfectly.
8-year-old. That's amazing.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I said, oh, thank you, Lord. This is so awesome, to have just this natural response, insightful, from a kid, no less. And so we got to talking on that, and you had shared how you had overcome, I believe, lupus when you were young. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know if you ever overcome it. I think you deal with it the best way you can. There really is no cure for any of those autoimmune diseases or a lot of the diseases out there, but I think dealing with it and kind of taking your health in your own hands is something I had no choice to learn early on. It was a diagnosis that I was given, I think, at 25. So it's been a couple years, to say the least. But yeah, it's got its own whole backstory, and I think that's where you and I were having that conversation.
Yes, yeah, and that was just inspiring. And I wish that the cameras were still on when we were talking, because if I remember right, you said you met a doctor who, a lot of the doctors had given you a prognosis, kind of this is your lot in life, and there's no
Sure.
hope. But then a particular doctor you met, who was also a martial artist, asked you, what do you love most? And
right.
If I'm remembering right, you said martial arts, and he said, well, then that's what you need to do in order for this not to be your future. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. If you could retell that,
pretty
because
good
it was so inspiring.
Paraphrase.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I got into martial arts not for fighting or any of the things that I grew into. It was just more of an exercise and knowing that I was learning a self-defense at the same time. It was a couple years into training, and I loved it. It was something that I was going to every single day and taking my daughter with me. She started when she was 5 as well. And we loved it. It was kind of mom and me time. And there just came a point where I just wasn't feeling well. And everything that I was so used to doing day in and day out, I was getting really fatigued, and I was bruising a lot. And anybody who knows me knows I'm pretty olive complected, and there's really no reason for me to be bruising, but there was just crazy changes going on in my body. And I work in healthcare. I've always worked in healthcare. I've been in healthcare for about 24 years. And so I worked at an oncologist. They did their workup. Went to a rheumatologist. They did their workup. I went to every specialist you can possibly imagine on and off for 2 years. And that's just kind of summarizing a crazy 2 years. If there was any crazy disease out there, whether, I think that at one point they thought it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, then they thought it was my blood values were so crazy, my liver was 600 times what a normal person should be, and of course they asked if I was a drinker, which I'm not. There was just so many things. I was being sent to GI specialists and oncologists and rheumatologists, and if there was an ologist, I went. And I was getting biopsies of everything and learning what I didn't have, but no one can figure out what I could have. And finally, I just kind of got sick of it, and I was at the hospital, and they over-medicated me, and I crashed, and they were basically having to bring me back. My heart rate was dropping, and at that point, I was on a lot of medication, and everything looked pretty grim for me. And I finally said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm not taking this medication. Can't live with this unknown diagnosis of whatever they think it is. And so I'm, going to take matters into my own hands. So I went to Mayo Clinic, took all my records, packaged them up, and went there, and I said, this is the deal. Waking up is horrible. I run a temperature every day. I feel like I'm 900 years old. so on and so forth. I gave him the rundown, and I said, these are all the things they said it could be. These are all the things they said it's not. I need someone to figure this out because I'm not going back to being a guinea pig anymore of, the poking and prodding. And he said, well, I was the head of rheumatology at Mayo, and he said, by looking at all of this, he said, you are very consistent with having lupus. And we went through it all, and there's a lot of things you have to have in order to get that lovely diagnosis. And he said, what I would suggest for you is that you stay with a very strong exercise regime. And I said, that's huge. However, I can't wake up. I'm tired. My body hurts. I bruise and this, that, whatever. And he said, well, how you feel right now could either be how you feel 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, or you can be proactive with this. He said, what type of exercise do you like to do? And I said, well, truth be told, I like martial arts, but he had asked me, is it karate or taekwondo? Could you just kind of do things a little bit lighter? And I'm like, no, I love Muay Thai, and it's very full contact. I don't even know how I could go through the motions without hitting something. And that's my problem, is I'm bruising, and I don't have any energy. And he said, well, this is the deal. He said, you need to embrace that. If that's what you love, you need to embrace it. And he said, if you go for 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day, I don't care. You just got to throw your body back into it and kind of shock it again. And I said, is that a possibility? And he goes, absolutely. You can retrain anything if you really want to do it. He says, if you're not happy with how you are right now, he goes, you got to do something about it. You need to be proactive. Just as you were proactive coming all this way to Mayo Clinic, he said, you can change things. He goes, but it's got to be a little each day. And he said, if you're bruising, instead of wearing one pair of shin pads, wear two. And he said, I'm a martial artist by trade as well. He goes, I understand, your love for it, and I understand what all this entails. He's like, but if you stop using it, you're going to lose it. So you just need to push forward, and you're going to be sore anyway, so you might as well be sore doing something that you love. And that's all he really had to tell me. And I came back and put on my double shin pads and marched back into the gym. And I said, okay, here I am. I probably can't do the hour or 2 hour or 3 hour class that most everybody's doing, but I'm going to throw myself into it. And that's what I did.
Was it hard at first, I imagine, maybe just 5-10 minutes in the beginning?
It was atrocious. It was atrocious. Oh. And, if you're in any type of competition, if you're a competitor or an athlete, you want to give your all. You don't want to be that student that can only, do modified anything, so you got to be humbled just a little bit to go in there and explain to your Thai trainer who doesn't understand that anybody's ever sick or that anybody has an injury of any kind. You push through it because that's just kind of that mindset. But I kind of had to break this down as to what I could do and what I couldn't do, and I needed him to push me, but only to a certain level. And I worked with Master Toddy, and he did. He worked with me, and he made sure that if I was sparring with someone, that it was light sparring, and we weren't trying to kill each other, which was a definite added benefit. And we did that until I really kind of retrained my body. I mean, everybody sees everybody in these movies where they're kicking trees, and no, we never kick trees, but there's just different levels of things that you can train to. And I started very, very small and worked my way up to being able to spar, 100%, 200%, and, wow. Go on to being able to fight and I think my career actually, I don't think my martial arts career would have taken it to the level that it did had I not had this doctor tell me that I had to, because then that became my own personal rehab program. I didn't go to a therapist. I didn't go, and I'm sure that probably would have been a better, smarter choice for me to start there, but I threw my...
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, your story...
I didn't say...
This is so inspiring, Lisa, because you overcame such a difficult and painful health issue. And so I want everyone listening to know some of the highlights of what you said. You said, taking matters into your own hands. The doctor said you need to be proactive, and you chose martial arts as a path for that. And I've been in the room with you. I'm a lifetime martial artist. Just looking at you and seeing you move, you are physically I wouldn't want to fight with you. Matter of fact, we have a mutual friend, Mike Gillette. He said the same thing. He said, this gal is a badass, and indeed you are. You're physically fit. Your energy is so high, and you're so, you're so vibrant that this is just an inspiring story to overcome lupus. So anyone listening, any difficulty that we face, a lot of people complain about their lives and circumstances, but when you have a health issue like lupus or something serious like that, it just makes you realize, if you've got your health, you're rich. You don't know how wealthy you are, but to have a setback like that and to overcome it is just inspiring. And I love stories like that because it shows us we can overcome any circumstance, and that's just wonderful. And so you went on to become a champion, a Muay Thai champion.
I did. Master Toddy, once he realized, okay, I was out of the woods and I was no longer bruising somehow, some way, and I think it's a little bit of everything. My blood levels started returning back to normal, and when I said that they were really off, you kind of need a white count in order to be able to fight off an infection. And I was running 2 to 3, which is probably, if you were on chemotherapy, is where you would be. I mean, if there was I had no immune system, everything was kind of failing, because lupus can affect every major organ in your body. Whether my vision was blurry, I would have pleurisy, which is an infection of the lining of the lung. If you've got an organ, it can be affected, and there's no rhyme or reason. It's luck of the draw. So I kind of had it all. And what I have come to find, again, I think I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. But I kind of realized that not only do you have a choice on how you're going to live when you're kind of faced with that situation, are you going to just kind of give into this and be bedbound and, give into the fact that you're tired all day long, or maybe it is the Red Bull that gives you wings that you might need to drink just a little bit to get you through that practice. But the more I exercised, the more my blood levels started evening out. And then I was able, I had a normal white count, and then my, inflammation in my body somehow started going back down to normal. And it was crazy off the charts, which you would have if you have any type of rheumatoid problems or whatnot. As I was doing more, and it was a little bit harder, everything started leveling out. And then I started feeling normal, and on paper, I was looking normal again. And the doctors would say, well, do you want to go meet with a rheumatologist? I'm like, no, not really, because just because maybe that there's a part of my diagnosis that says that I have this doesn't mean that I'm going to give into it or treat myself like I'm sick. I'll treat the symptoms. I might have a sore neck, but it could have been from sparring. I don't know what the ailment is. I would like to think that it's more from doing something I love than my body not wanting to work with me. So it's kind of mind over matter. And I also realized that life is short. I learned at a very young age, life is short, and, I'm going to do everything I can to live life to the fullest, because you don't know when your body may just decide that that's it. I can't do anymore. So, for anybody who will see me online, they're like, you're here, there, doing everything. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to keep doing that, because I know that there's a point where my body's going to be like, maybe not so much anymore. And, I don't want to have those regrets. And I do know the difference. I know what it's like to be sick. And I don't ever want to be in that situation saying I shoulda, coulda, woulda. So, kind of how it's changed me, and it's changed my children. We know every now and again people are going to get sick, but until then, just keep trucking along. And I don't want to say that this is something unique that only I was able to do. I think we briefly talked about it as well. Early on, I had gone to a fight out of state. For some reason, I'm thinking it was Florida, and there was a girl who came in who saw me on Fight Girls or one of the shows that I did, and she said, gosh, I really envy, that you're able to fight in your career, and it just seems like so much fun. And she was with another fighter, and I said, well, why don't you jump in there? Why don't you do it? Why don't you compete? And she said, I wish I could, but I have lupus and I have a lot of bad days and this, that, whatever. So, I'm not able to. And I kind of pulled her aside and I said, we need to talk. And so after her friend competed or whatever we were doing, and we reconvened, and I said, we've kind of got a similar story. And I went through my story and I said, you might have lupus, but it doesn't necessarily have you. And I said, it's up to you, and I'm just going to give you the same information that this doctor gave me. You can jump in there and just do a little bit each day, and somehow, some way, it's magical. I can't tell you how or why, but your body will start readjusting to this new training regime, and, its mind just kind of resolved itself. I don't know if it's for forever, or I'm not going to question it. And she's like, are you kidding me? This is amazing. My body hurts every day. And I said, so did mine. She said, but my labs are all messed up. I said, so were mine. And we had so many similar stories. So she ended up going her way. I went mine. And I got an email probably 4 to 6 months later just thanking me. And she said, I'm that girl that you met. And she said, I just wanted to let you know I had my first competition. I think it was jiu-jitsu she jumped into. She said, I am sold. I live at the gym. I train all the time. I've never felt better. And maybe it's the endorphins of training. I'm not exactly sure. But, there's another one with the same type of outcome.
That is so awesome. I love hearing that. And, to me, martial arts is so healthy, for the mind, body, and spirit. When you have a fighter spirit, you say, I don't have to live this way. Like you said, you have a choice in the matter. You do have a choice, and you don't have to give into it. And so you fought it and became a champ and inspired someone else who's fighting and getting stronger. And it's such an inspiration. That is just awesome. I just love hearing that. And you also mentioned being trained by Master Toddy. Anyone who's been around martial arts a long time, I know that name well. Can you tell me a little bit about him? Is he still alive, by the way, Master Toddy?
Of course he is. He's
okay.
Quite possibly going to live forever.
Yes,
he's a mystical creature in my mind.
Yes.
No,
I've heard that name since I was a kid. So tell us a little bit about training with the legend, Master Toddy.
Well, Master Toddy was, he moved back to Thailand, I'm thinking 2009, 2010.
Okay.
But prior to that, and just so you know, in Thailand, he's got his own training camp, he's got his own training gear. When I say he's mystical and he's a legend, he's back doing everything that he always did here in the United States. I think he was in the U.S. for at least 15 years. And then he was in England before that for another 15 years. So, he's been training for forever. And
yes.
What's great is not only can he tell you what to do, but if you decide to be that student who wants to challenge him, he can do that right back to you. And I promise you, I don't care who you are, what your size is, you will never be hit with anything that hurts more than his kicks. They're amazing. So Master Toddy was kind of my Mr. Miyagi. When I sought out for martial arts, I went from gym to gym to gym to find the one thing that inspired me because I loved Karate Kid. Sounds like a cheesy story, but it is the God's honest truth. And
that's
Master
awesome.
Toddy. No, I did. I wanted a Mr. Miyagi, and then I found Master Toddy, and Master Toddy was from the get-go. I mean, if you think I'm high energy, he's 20 times me.
Wow.
And day one, there was new people, there was fighters and everything in between of every age range from, 4 or 5-year-old kids to 60-year-old practitioners in the gym, and everybody was having an amazing time. They were training to their level. People always ask, Muay Thai, do you automatically get punched in the face? No, not at all. You might use the shoulders or, there's just different training techniques to make sure at the end of the day you're safe. But when I came in there, he came up, explained the system, had me talk to people in class, and I was there for a full hour just watching it, and he didn't have to sell me. It really sold itself, and that day I signed a 3-year contract for myself and my daughter.
Wow.
And I ended up being with him the whole time he was here in the United States. He was here in Las Vegas, and he was always the one completely pushing me out of my comfort level. He started me commentating, he started me ring announcing, helping plan promotions, and then fighting. And to him, no was never an option. You were never ill-prepared. He would get you there, and you just had to trust in him. And I did. I would just, okay, if he says I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. He'll show me how to do it. And just one of the greatest mentors many of us have ever had. He's truly just, he's amazing.
That's wonderful, and to find someone like that, because there's a lot, it's hard to find in martial arts. There's a lot of big egos out there. I mean, a lot of what I kind of say that there are fighters, and there are technicians, and then there are mentors. And a fighter will just beat you up, and you go, wow, how did you do that? But they never really show you how. They impress you. And then a technician will, oh, your foot's here. Oh, you get tied down in so much gobbledygook. Is my foot in the right position? Is this? That you never get to fly, you never get to fight. But then those mentors are the ones who truly teach you and give you the ability. They show you how. They show you how and guide you on the path. And that sounds like Master Toddy all the way. Now, he took you on. You came in and from having, the lupus, but he was willing to take you on anyway, and not see that as you better not train, or you better not. He was able to take you on anyway, understanding that you could improve and do it and believing in you.
Oh, very much so. I started with him before I got the whole lupus scare. And, I was there training just as any new beginner would. And, again, that was just kind of my happy place. I'd get off work and I'd go to the gym and be there all night. And my daughter would train, I would train, and we were good to go. And then there was a small setback, and I would see him at fights because I still always loved Muay Thai. I wanted to support those at the gym, but I stopped training, and he would say, why, he responds to everybody, male or female, as baby. That's just his term of endearment. He's like, baby, why are you not at the gym? And I would try to tell him I was sick, and he can play I understand, but he was in England for 15 years and here he speaks perfectly good English. He's like, I don't understand you. And that was his just way of saying that's not an excuse. And I would let him know that, I'd be back at some point as soon as I felt better. And, again, I'd go through testing, and I'd see him again at the next event, and he'd say, why are you not at the gym? And we would have the same conversation. So finally, when I got a doctor who broke it down for me, I was kind of tail between the legs, and I went into the gym, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to explain to this man who does not understand that anybody is ever sick or injured that we need to go at a different pace. And I walked in, and he greeted me, was so happy to see me, and asked if I was coming back. And I said, yeah. I said, but I can't train like I did. And I tried to break it down, and he kind of nodded and kind of acted like he understood, but I don't think he really accepted that there was anything ever wrong with anybody. And I came back, and we just made it work. There'd be days where he would see, and I tend to believe he's a little bit psychic too. He can kind of see if someone's going too hard, and he would stop it. And he really would control the sparring and the training and the technical aspect. If I was having a bad day and I'd still show up and he can see it in my face, he'd say, okay, I just need you working on the bag, or, I just need you working on this technique. And, on the good days, I'd be in there sparring a little bit harder than not. And, he did push me, which I think we all need to be pushed. We need a person who can see more in us than we can see in ourselves. And he assumed that role. And he had Master Chan with him as well. Master Chan has trained with him in England as well as here, so he's got the same amazing experience. And between the two of them, they got me through the whole illness thing. And they were the ones who said, we need you to fight. And I said, I don't think I can do that. And I gave them 20 reasons why not. And they told me why I could and how they were going to do it, and that there really was no other way. And I couldn't thank them enough, because if they didn't make me do it the one time, and I didn't fall in love with it, there's so many other opportunities I would have never known, I guess you could say. So
that's wonderful. They had something that a few months ago we had dinner with Benny Urquidez, Benny the Jet, and he was telling us his life story, and he told us he kept using this term Bushido heart, like a warrior's heart. They had that, and they saw that in you, even if you didn't feel it in yourself sometimes. They kept pushing you along because they saw it. That warrior's heart in you. just incredible. What an incredible and inspiring story. And another thing that I wanted to touch on with you is empowering women, girls. Now, I have daughters, and we love seeing a strong role model that you can be feminine and pretty and also strong and kick ass and not afraid. I mean, that's such a good example, and so I just wanted to touch on that because seeing that and seeing how a lot of times in society, there gets to be a stereotype. Well, you can't be feminine and pretty, and that's not ladylike. But the truth is, girls should be strong and out there, kicking ass like you are. And so, tell me a bit about that.
I never tried to be anything other than who I was. There was plenty of stereotypes back in the early part of my career when I did start fighting. I would have to say Master Toddy I don't know how he did it, but he always had, I guess you can say, girls that look like girls. They were your all-American girls on the street that would go in there and fall in love with Muay Thai. Still haven't figured out how he was able to do that, but I used to refer to us, in an equivalent fashion of, like being the Spice Girls. There was one of every nationality, and we all looked like girls. We all had real jobs during the day, and this is just something that we absolutely love doing. And so we would show up at fights in different parts of the country, and even outside of the country, and people would come up and they would write stories about us saying, they're just these American girls that are, that just look like regular girls. They're not strong. They can't do it. I mean, they would judge us based on how we looked, which to me was actually really funny. I was never offended by that. I'm okay if I don't look like I'm scary. I never wanted to look like I was scary. I wanted to be a regular girl who could defend themselves if they needed to and have this skill set. I grew up as a tomboy with brothers who boxed and did martial arts, and I always wanted to do it, but my mother thought that wasn't, like you just said, she didn't think it was ladylike. So she wanted me to do dance and gymnastics and girly things, and it was really my decision to do this. It was something I always loved doing. I think now it's more accepted that, you could have your nails done and your makeup done and still enjoy this sport. You don't have to look a certain way. And I think that, now even seeing women who's doing CrossFit and other things that were more traditional men, now it's more mainstream that it's okay to be a girl, look like a girl, but be able to be amazing at whatever it is that sport is that you enjoy. I think for a female, having a lot of skill sets, where it's the verbal skill sets, where it's the confidence to, not be bullied or not accept anything that you don't think that's fair for you, being able to speak your mind. I'm definitely not a woman's lib type of person. I just think that, people should be treated correctly, kindly, the way that people would want to be treated. But the fact that we don't necessarily need someone to take care of us is a plus. I would love for someone to be able to be that person, but I might not always have that person there with me. So why should I ever be a victim? I think that to empower women to be able to take care of any of the situations that they need to take care of, verbally, physically, mentally, whatever it may be, I think is how it should be, men or women. I just think that in the past, women weren't expected to be able to do those things. It should have been more of a male job. But again, you've got most families now, you've got two parents working in, a good portion of the population, and kids that are having to walk home and this, that, and whatever. It's a scary world these days. People should be empowered to be able to take care of themselves.
Sure. Well, it's great to see. To be a lady and to be pretty and feminine, but still strong and not have to fit a particular stereotype, because you're slender. You're not like like one of these roided out bodybuilders. And if a guy were to attack you in a parking lot just based on how you looked, he would be making the biggest mistake ever. Because your skills, they're so dynamic and awesome. And you were showing us, how to throw people bigger people in the room, and that was just, it's so neat to see, and it's empowering. And Lisa, thank you so much for being with us on the show. And for those who want to get in touch with Lisa, it's The Black Widow, theblackwidow.us is her website.
And, of course, that links you to everything social media, so you can easily find me there.
Yeah.
But, no, I've had a blast. Everything that you do in the martial arts circuit, inspiring martial artists, those that are new to the industry, no matter what age range, you just make it so easy for people to learn. And you put some of the most amazing programs together. So kudos to you, and kudos to your ever so fabulous, beautiful, and very strong wife. I just love her. She's amazing. So you did well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm lucky. I'm blessed, and it's a wonderful time. I know we're going to be hanging out with you soon. And
absolutely.
You have a great day. Thanks so much for being with us, Lisa. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. Have a great day.
All right, my friends, thank you for being with us on the How to Be a Warrior and Kick Ass in Life broadcast. Right now, do two things. Bookmark this podcast so that you can always come back to it, and then go to scottbolan.com and get your free report called How to Become Unstoppable. You'll learn some amazing things. I'll look forward to speaking to you next time. And until then, please remember that you only live once, so live as a warrior.